It's funny how fast things can come apart. 17 years of marriage, gone in less than 10 minutes. I stood there, in the foyer of our home, my home, the one I'd spent years sprucing up, seeing my wife, Clarissa, laugh, like I was some kinda joke. No divorce papers needed. Just leave, she said, her voice shrill and cold, like she'd been waiting to say it for months. She barely even looked at me. Her new lover, Reed, was right there next to her, grinning like he'd just won some major prize. He kicked off his filthy shoes and dumped them right onto the sofa table, the one I'd built with my own hands years ago. The wood, scarred and scuffed from his careless feet, sent a tight knot into my chest. But I didn't say anything. What was there to say? She'd made up her mind, and I wasn't about to beg. I turned away from them and walked upstairs, to her bedroom. The place still smelled like her perfume, that floral scent she'd worn when we were dating. I took my luggage from the closet, the old black one with the damaged zipper I'd been meaning to replace. I started folding my stuff, shirts first, then pants, then socks. I took my time, making sure every crease was neat, every stack beautiful. It wasn't about stalling, it was about keeping my hands busy so I wouldn't punch something. Below, I could hear them, talking, laughing even. Reed's voice was loud, smug, like he owned the place already. Great house, I heard him say. Could use some updating, though, like he had the right to judge what I'd built. I zipped the suitcase shut and walked downstairs. Clarissa was resting against the kitchen counter now, enjoying a glass of wine, my wine, from the bottle I'd bought for our anniversary last month. She didn't even look up as I walked past. Reed was stretched out on the couch, flipping through channels on the TV like he'd lived there forever. I stopped at the front door, my hand on the latch, and took one last look around. The portraits on the wall, us at the beach, us at her cousin's wedding, gazed back at me like ghosts. 17 years of memories. And she was throwing it all away, for him. I could have yelled. I could have demanded an explanation. But what would that change? She'd already checked out. So I unlocked the door and stepped outside. The air was cold. The night, silent except for the murmur of crickets. I placed my suitcase into the back of my truck, an old pickup I'd kept running since before we got married. The engine sputtered to life. I pulled out of the driveway without glancing back. My hands held the wheel tight. My knuckles white. Clarissa thought she'd humiliated me, that she'd won some kind of victory by pushing me out like that. She had no idea who I truly was, no idea what was coming. I drove down the street, the home receding in my rearview mirror, and I felt something shift inside me. Not rage, not anymore. Something calmer, something sharper. She wanted me gone? All right, I'd leave. But this wasn't finished, not by a long shot. I pulled into a gas station a few miles away and parked under the flickering lights. My phone sat heavy in my pocket. I got it out, opened the contacts, scrolled to a number saved, only as command. My thumb hovered over it for a second. Then I sent out a brief message. Begin. Subject confirmed. Proceeding as planned. I hit send and leaned back in my seat, waiting. The reply came almost instantaneously. All teams ready. Phase 1 begins at Oro 900. I read it twice, letting the words sink in. 17 years of faking, of hiding, and now it was all about to crumble. Clarissa thought she'd seen the last of me. She thought I was just another boring guy she could toss aside. She didn't know the truth. Not yet. I started the truck again and drove toward the city. My head was racing, but my hands were steady. I'd spent years building a life with her, playing the character she wanted me to play, the quiet spouse, the man who fixed the leaky sink and paid the bills on time. She never questioned the late nights, the business trips, the locked drawer in my office she wasn't permitted to touch. She Never cared enough to wonder, and maybe that was the real problem. I wasn't just leaving the house tonight. I was leaving the lie I had lived for her. The gas station lights faded behind me as I merged onto the highway. The road stretched out dark and empty. Tomorrow, everything would change. Tomorrow, she would realize what she'd truly thrown away. And me? I'd finally stop faking. Sharp. Another squad was striking Reed's office downtown, seizing laptops, freezing accounts. The proof was airtight. Bank logs, wire transfers, even a taped call where he bragged about cleaning cash. I'd developed this case brick by brick, and now it was time to knock it all down. Keller handed me a headset. "You're on comms," he said. "Eye on the feed. Call the bullets if it goes sideways." I nodded, sliding it on. My heart was steady, my hands steady. This was what I was good at. I thought of Clarissa again as we loaded up. She'd never seen this side of me, the guy who could take down a criminal empire without blinking. To her, I was just the husband who forgot to mow the grass sometimes, who worked late and came home quiet. She didn't know about the black safes, the undercover ops, the times I'd stared down worse men than Reed. And she didn't realize that her soulmate was about to lead her into a mess she couldn't talk her way out of. I hopped into the van with Rowan, the doors slamming shut behind us. The screens flashed to life, showing live feeds from the house. Clarissa's car was still in the driveway, Reed's too. They had no idea what was coming. The clock reached 8:45 a.m., 15 minutes to go. I leaned back in my seat watching the screens, my head clear. This was my world. Concealed. Sharp. True. Clarissa thought she'd humiliated me last night, pushing me out for her sparkling new lover, but she didn't know the secrets I'd buried, the life I'd kept from her. She didn't know that I'd been waiting for this, that Reed walking into our house was the last item I needed. The van rolled out, tires humming against the tarmac. Phase 1 was about to start, and I was ready. The van smelled like stale coffee and metal as we neared the house, the screens in front of me flashing with live feeds. It was 8:55 a.m., 5 minutes till everything kicked off. I adjusted my earpiece, the static crackling in my ear as Rowan murmured something about traffic. My eyes were focused on the monitors, two perspectives of the house I used to call home. The front porch was calm, the curtains still drawn. Clarissa's car parked on the driveway next to Reed's showy BMW. They were probably still asleep, tangled up in the sheets I paid for, thinking they'd won. My stomach twisted, but I shoved it down. This wasn't about feelings anymore. This was about the job. The clock reached 9 a.m., and the radio buzzed to life. "Team Alpha in position," a voice stated. "Team Beta, office site secured. Awaiting your go." I took a breath, my voice calm. Go. And just like that, it started. On the screen, 3 black SUVs pulled up swiftly, tires squealing as agents spilled out, vests on, pistols ready but low. They moved like a machine. 2 to the front entrance, 2 around back, 1 on lookout. I watched as Agent Torres, a guy I'd trained with years ago, slammed on the door. "FBI, search warrant! Open up!" His voice was loud, sharp, cutting through the morning silence. For a second, nothing happened. Then the drapes moved, and I saw Clarissa's face peek out, her eyes big and tired. She opened the door a crack, still in her robe, her hair disheveled from sleep. "What's happening?" she asked, her voice trembling. Torres didn't waste time. "FBI, we have a warrant. Stand aside." He rushed past her, the team following. I saw her slip back, pulling the robe tighter. Reed came staggering down the stairs a second later, shirtless, his hair sticking up. "What the hell is this?" he cried. But the instant he saw the badges, his face turned pale. He rushed toward the rear door. Bad move. 2 agents were already there, capturing him before he made it 10 steps. I heard the cuffs click through the comms, a gratifying sound. "Reed Vallon, you're under arrest," one of them stated, reading off the charges. "Racketeering, money laundering, fraud." His mouth opened, but nothing came out. Clarissa was shouting now, her voice shrill on the feed. "What the hell is going on? Somebody tell me." She swung around, looking at the officers smashing through the house, ripping out drawers, bagging computers, flipping pillows. Nobody answered her. They didn't have to. I watched her slump onto the couch, her fingers shaking, her eyes darting, everywhere. She didn't understand it yet, but she would soon. On the second screen, the workplace raid was in full swing. Reed's downtown setup, all glass and steel, swarming with agents. His staff stood frozen as computers were disconnected, files sealed up, accounts locked down. I leaned closer, my pulse steady. This was it. The takedown I'd spent 3 years building. Office secure, beta team reported. Evidence in hand, moving, to processing. I nodded even though they couldn't see me. "Copy," I said. "Alpha status?" Torres's voice came back. "House secure, subject in custody. Secondary occupant detained for questioning." Secondary occupant. That was Clarissa. I saw her, on the feed, an agent hovering over her, asking questions she couldn't answer.